If you caught any of the Christofascist Kirk memorial, you encountered something called semantic satiation.
The name of Jesus, what a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King.
Name of Jesus, Jesus, beautiful name of Jesus, 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 Jesus' beautiful name. It went on for hours. I was one of the millions who tuned into the live stream, and I watched more than I wanted to because Christofascism is a big part of our beat, but there were two other things that kept me enthralled. And one was the emotional, vapidity of the kitschy praise music, and the other was the fact that as a cradle Catholic who grew up with the social gospel that Jesus was unhoused, poor, likely illiterate, courageous, empathetic, and certainly odd and inscrutable, it's always disorienting to watch a stadium full of mostly well-off white people say his name over and over again like a spell. Like, what are you even talking about? In 1962, psychologist Leon Jacobovitz James submitted a doctoral dissertation at McGill University in Montreal, in which he coined the phrase semantic satiation to describe the phenomenon in which repetition causes a word or phrase to temporarily lose its meaning for the listener, making the speech appear as meaningless sounds or a mere string of letters. The words become content-free, devoid of meaning. It happens, James said, through what he called reactive inhibition, or the loss of meaning intensity in relation to sensory motor activity. Now, my non-sciencey understanding of this is that there are only so many points of concentration you can have, and if you're really pouring yourself into the sound or the kinetics of a word, you have less brain juice to concentrate on its meaning. It's a value-neutral phenomenon that happens in all kinds of contexts and across political and cultural divides, but I think when we detect it happening in a stadium like this, it's particularly chilling because Jesus as a term just seems empty of all meaning, or at least a lot of its meaning, because what meaning it does retain seems to me legible in the affects of certainty and fulfillment. The raised hands, the nodding heads, the closed eyes that are squeezing out tears. If I could sum up what I think is being felt and expressed through the name of Jesus in that crowd, I think of fulfillment or accomplishment or triumph. These are close to the heart of it. And a lot of the context supports this because when the repetitions stretch out into verses, the common tropes are all about solving problems and vanquishing all enemies. I think this sense of completeness looms largest, that there's nothing left for the worshiper to do but to say this name. Now, if the core feeling is accomplishment or triumph, I imagine it freezes the devotee in time, like there's nothing in the future to work towards. And all that is past is actually serving the validation of this moment. Everything is perfect. And that is honestly the religion that white people in power need. They need everything to be perfect, accomplished, and forgiven. They need God to reassure them that they are right, and this might relieve them of whatever work of justice they might imagine having to do. Now, some, of course, will do charity and community care, so I'm talking about the larger context of turning point politics and how those folks are going to step out of their ecstatic experience and head right back into support for persecuting trans people and taking reproductive rights away from women and bombing children in Gaza. This ecstasy, which actually means standing outside of the body, and in this case outside of time and history, is not unique to turning point Christofascism. Like the Sufis are doing it, the Taizé singers are doing it, it happens in mantra recitation in South Asia, it happens in black gospel music. So for me, the question is, what is the ecstasy used for, and why are some ecstatic experiences integrated into pro-social impulses while some go the other way? And my sense is that ecstasy in pro-social communities is a leveler. It expresses an anarchy of human love, standing outside of history to look for equality prior to and after capitalism. And the proof is in the pudding. Are worshipers refreshed to go out and serve, or are they inspired to proselytize and share an emotional contagion? I think the turning point Christofascists are doing the latter, and I think the ecstasy erases a bunch of difficult questions and challenges. And I don't think I would have come to this understanding of the Kirk Memorial without the work of Reggie Williams in a book called Bonhoeffer's Black Jesus, Harlem Renaissance Theology, and an Ethic of Resistance. Now, he's writing about Dietrich Bonhoeffer's transformation from stuffy star scholar of Lutheran theology with multiple fancy degrees. The turning point for Bonhoeffer was the year he spent at Union Theological Seminary in Manhattan in 1930, where he studied with folks like Reinhold Niebuhr, but more importantly, he hung out at Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem. Now, Williams basically says that Bonhoeffer arrived in America knowing and worshiping only the white Jesus of European institutions, the religious hero of Western empires, the one who triumphed, who brought history to an end. At Abyssinian, he met the black Jesus of the oppressed and colonized and formerly enslaved, the one who is constantly breaking his own body and ego in service of others, the one who knows there is no such thing as completed work, the one who can be ecstatic because they are loving their neighbor in an imperfect world, and it hurts. So I'm working on a study of the Williams book for Conspirituality podcast, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'll let you know when it's out.